so it's time for another episode of my podcast. This time it's with Ameena Rojee. So I've wanted to get Ameena on the podcast for a while because this podcast, it's all about going out there, doing your thing, designing your own life, taking a chance and owning your shit in a kind of roundabout way. And sometimes we touch on spiritual things, sometimes it's quite practical. And Ameena is a photographer who has gone out and had amazing adventures. So she is trained with Shaolin monks in a kung fu school in China. She has walked the Camino, this religious trail that goes all across Europe for thousands of miles. And each of these things has been quite a transformative experience for her. And that's kind of what I wanted to get into, and also look at how photography plays into that and plays into this kind of notion of who we are and what we do. And as someone who is a photographer and spent 10 years working as a commercial photographer, I thought this was very interesting. Apologies for the noise outside. They're taking down some scaffolding outside the office window. I just want to say that this podcast is brought to you by Life of Your Own Media. They are the purveyors of fine websites, podcasts, and also books. And my new book, Shine Manifesto, is out now. Check it out on Amazon. It's available to download on Kindle. Get the paperback one, man. Oh, it smells so good. And that's available now. So go and grab a copy of that. And in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this episode of the podcast with Ameena Rojee. Here we go. All right, so I am here with Ameena Rojee, and I'm very lucky, actually, very excited, because I've been a follower of your work for quite some time, and you kind of go off on interesting and exciting adventures, which I've always thought was actually quite brave, considering you're a young girl, and often you go off on your own to like far off lands, and you do amazing. Well, not even far off lands as well. You do some stuff around Croydon. Which is your home, right?
Yeah,
cool.
Born and bred.
And so the whole idea of this kind of podcast is it's about choosing your own path and doing your own thing. And some of them have been a bit spiritual, so I've interviewed Buddhist monks as well and stuff like that. But mainly it's just about creating your own life and doing your own thing, which is what you're doing, which is why I wanted to speak to you, really. So, so some of the things you've done. So you did Beekeepers in Reigate.
Oh, that was actually a one-day thing.
Was it? Okay,
yeah, that was actually a Mother's Day gift. That wasn't actually a project or anything. Yeah.
Okay. So
that was just so it was a Mother's Day gift.
Yeah.
And it was just a one-day event, and we went down there for the day, and it was just I'd never done any. That was like. In the kind of grand scheme of things, it's not a big adventure, but it was so different from anything I've ever done.
Because some of the most rewarding stuff I've done has not been the grand stuff.
Yeah.
You know that saying, like, kill your darlings?
Yeah.
And I can't remember who it was. It was the writer, the famous writer.
Yeah.
Allen Ginsberg or something, but he was like,
one of them.
Sometimes you put all this effort into the big projects.
Yeah.
But the results aren't that, but you hold on to them because they were a big project. You put a lot of effort into them, but the results don't do it justice. So you kind of, when you can let that stuff go, but then focus on the stuff that did bring you nice rewards, like the beekeepers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's equally as valid, even though it was only a one-day thing. But that's pretty cool, because the reason I wanted to start with that, because you've done some other stuff which is much more epic than that.
Yeah.
But that is like
very close to home.
Yeah, and it's a mini adventure, isn't it, as well? So I'm not a million miles from where I live either.
No. It was. It's always kind of. It's not really surprising in a way, but I'm only kind of just starting to realise that it's not always like the big adventures, the epic things you do that always turn out the best. And that is something I thought in university, like, I'm going to have to do something really big or kind of ambitious. And I would keep thinking about all these big ambitious projects that I wanted to do, kind of even after like a year or two after university. And then it's not like, that's not the best thing you can do, just to kind of go to some far off land. And
do you think it's about having just an eye for an opportunity? Like, you find that there are these beekeepers who are close to home, and you think that would make an interesting project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you could easily be forgiven for thinking, my big project has to be like this grand theme, somewhere in Malaysia or Thailand or whatever.
Yeah.
But actually, there's lots of interesting. Wherever you look, if you're tuned in, you can see stuff.
Absolutely. It's difficult at first, and I've been trying to like think about more about doing work at home or around my kind of local area.
Yeah.
And I always think to myself, like I go out and I think to myself, oh, there's nothing here, and it's always so grey and like ugly, and Croydon's not the prettiest of places.
Yeah, but,
but it's interesting. There's interesting things happening, and it's in an interesting time because there's so much change and
completely. And I look back at photos from the 1970s, these kind of these very these kind of what's the word? It's we seem to call everything that's postmodern or modernist. What's that?
Brutalist.
Brutalist. That's it. My mind's gone blank there. But we tend to call everything brutalist. But there are all these photos of people living in these high-rise flats from back in the 70s.
Yeah.
That at the time, someone thought, "This is a boring photograph." But when we look at it now, it's like a window into the past.
Exactly. Yeah. I saw there was. I think I saw on Twitter the other day that was saying exactly that. There was a photograph from Poplar in East London, and it was like the things that weren't interesting back then are kind of an insight into history now.
Yeah, completely. It was very mundane back then, but now it's very special.
Exactly.
There's a photographer I used to hang out with called Daniel Keyes, and he is documenting the North Circular Road. So all the estates around there, all the kind of the bridges over the dual carriageway, all this kind of stuff, which you think is actually like, when you drive past it, you're like, this is just ugly, and I don't want to look at it.
Especially when you drive past it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just there's rubbish everywhere.
One big stress.
But actually, it's a very interesting document about society and us and humanity and the world we live in, because it's not all glitz and glamour. It's very functional, some of it, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which has actually made me think of some of your photographs from the Camino, from the Camino de Santiago, is that right?
Santiago, yeah.
So I really wanted to talk to you about this because you took a lot of very fascinating photographs of just some of the very urban architecture, doorways and cars and things like this. But actually they're very poignant and very kind of some of them very lonely pictures, I think, and things like that.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
I don't want to, because I'm talking a lot at the moment. I want to let you talk. But the reason...
it's good to hear. It's always nice to hear like other people talk about your work, because then you think like,
weird,
actually,
But
didn't think about it like that.
The Camino, a friend of mine went on the Camino.
Yeah.
And, he likes to go for walks, and he did 700 miles or something. He was out there for a couple of months and stuff. And he said it was an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And then I heard a writer who'd done the same thing, and he turned around and said it was a transformational experience, and for him it was a very spiritual thing. So I said to my friend, did you find it to be a transformational experience? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And he said, yeah, I will when we get together. And he's never got around to telling me more. And so I wanted someone to tell me what it's like. And I guess with a photographer's eye, So did you find it transformational? Did it change
you? Yeah. So, but I was in quite a transformational time, at that moment.
Maybe before we go on, we can explain what it is. So it's this pilgrimage route, isn't it?
Yeah, it's officially named the Camino de Santiago. It's I think it's quite a fairly famous pilgrimage route, or pilgrimage rather, because there's basically hundreds of routes all over Spain, and out of Spain there's an English route which you can do from the south of England. The popular one starts in France, but
they all meet up.
The end point is the cathedral in Santiago de Compostela, which is a city in kind of northwest Spain, so it's the official end point, but some people then go on, they carry on walking to the end of the country, so the coast, which is Finisterre, which is, some people might know as there's a clothing brand, no, that's the clothing brand actually, Finisterre is the clothing brand. Now I'm getting the names mixed up.
That's right.
And the town is Fisterra, which translates as end of the world in Latin.
So why is it such a significant pilgrimage? What's the big deal?
Well, so obviously there's a whole religious aspect of it, which is that was completely that was not any kind of reason why I did it. I'm not religious at all.
No, neither's my friend.
So it's a very big religious pilgrimage for a lot of people, but I think more than that, it's quite a big spiritual thing. So people do it as sort of, it's quite difficult to explain because it's a lot of the people I met weren't religious, but there was kind of a similar. They did it for a similar reason as the people who are doing it for a religious reason, whereas it was something transformational in themselves.
So they
weren't doing it for kind of as part of a reason, as like a part of their beliefs in God, but like a beliefs in themselves.
So they come to a point in their life where they needed to escape, or did they need to find answers? Or
finding answers, I think, is a good way to put it, because a lot of the people I met had like something had just happened to them, something quite big, often something quite negative. So they just had like a big relationship breakup, or someone they know had died, or they'd like had quite a bad time in their life, and they'd gone on this walk.
Yeah. And it goes on for, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of miles. Isn't it? So it goes on for a very long time, depending on which way you go.
Yeah, depending on which way you go. So the most popular route, which is the Camino Francés, which starts in the south of France, that's, I think, that's about 800 kilometres.
Yeah. Okay.
It's all in kilometres. I can't actually, I never checked it in miles. So I'm now converted to kilometres.
So it's like 600 and something.
So I'm like, I've walked that much. I know how much that is.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then I think most people tend to do it in about 30 days or less.
Yeah. How long were you out there for?
So I've done 2.
Oh, right. Okay.
So I did one this year as well. So the first one I did the most popular route. I actually did that with a friend the first time. And that was, so we actually did a shorter version. We started after the Pyrenees. We skipped that bit. And we did about 550 kilometres.
Okay.
And that was...
Which is still not to be sniffed at.
Yeah. No, it was, it's a big distance when you think about it. But actually, it went a lot quicker than expected.
Okay.
When I remember it now.
Because you were enjoying it so much, or just because you're actually making good time and skipping along?
Yeah, we were some of the slowest people on there.
Okay.
So we ended up taking, I think it was 23 days walking, plus we did a 1 day break in each big city that we passed, because you pass through the big cities as you go. So we were quite slow. That was fine. We didn't have a deadline to meet or anything.
Yeah.
We didn't have to, we had a flight booked, but we left enough time for us to kind of relax at the end of it.
Okay.
But it was, I just think about it now and think, I don't know if it's because now that I've done it, I know it's doable and it feels smaller, I think. And I think it's a thing where you travel the world and everything feels a bit smaller. Yeah. Time feels a bit quicker. I think it's a similar kind of thing.
Do you think that's a reflection on yourself as well? Do you feel a bit braver, maybe?
Yeah.
Or a bit more confident in your ability to do it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think so. Because now that I've done this second one this year...
was that a bit longer this year?
That was double the length.
Okay, wow.
It was just double the time. And I did it specifically because it was supposed to be harder, longer, and more lonely.
Did you do it on your own?
And I went on my own this time.
So when you said it was supposed to be more lonely, were you interested in exploring what that was like?
Yeah, okay, absolutely.
That's interesting. So.
Yeah, so that was because of when I did the first walk, I went with a friend, and I was working on trying to make a photography project at the same time, and I found that going with a friend kind of hindered me a little bit.
Okay. No disrespect to your friend.
No disrespect to my friend.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll probably have something to say after this. Yeah. But it was just the way of things. Like you don't want to take up too much time, and you don't want to just go off on your own.
Yeah, you don't want to say wait there while I go off and spend an hour.
You see this interesting thing, but just stay there a minute. I'm going to go over there for an hour.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool.
Which is what I ended up doing on this year's trip quite a lot.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, that's like a luxury for a photographer.
It was a huge luxury. It was brilliant. So I decided to go alone this time, and actually I wanted to do something like this.
Were you daunted? Were you a little bit nervous about?
I was a little bit nervous, but I probably wasn't as nervous as everyone thought I should have been.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I had a lot of people telling me, like, especially family members, like, oh my God, you're going to go do this like long walk and like you're going to be on your own.
We don't know where you are.
Yeah, no one knows where you are. They wanted me to download like a tracker app to
really?
show where I was at exactly every moment. I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
It's going to run out of battery first of all, but also it's like the part of the experience is to like
So
be
what
disconnected.
was the motivating factor? What were you looking to discover on this journey on your own?
Yeah, I still don't know.
Okay.
It was so ever since I finished the first one, I knew I was going to go back and do another one, and I knew I wanted to do it alone. And I chose this particular route. So this particular route I did this year was from the south to the north. So I started in Sevilla, and I walked all the way up to Santiago.
Do you speak Spanish?
I speak Spanish. So that was I feel like I'm cheating a little bit when I go because I can kind of make my way all right. So what was I saying? I was going. Yeah, so it was in total about 1,000 kilometers. Okay, on foot. On foot, and I think I ended up doing just under 1,000, something like 900, around the 900 mark, and that was 47 days. Okay. Walking. Cool. So it was about double the time of the first one. So
I mean, you're taking pictures, but that you got a lot of time to think, I guess.
A lot of time.
What's that like?
A lot of time. I really enjoyed it. Yeah? Yeah, I was quite surprised at how much I enjoyed being alone. Yeah, okay. And because I'm quite a solitary person anyway, I don't mind, like with freelancing, I find myself alone quite a lot, and it hasn't been too bad for me at the moment.
That's really interesting, because when I went freelancing all those years ago, people always used to say to me, "Oh, I couldn't do it because I've missed all the friends in the office and all this kind of stuff." And I was like, actually, no, I'm quite happy just doing my thing.
And and actually I'm not alone enough because I'm working at home. So I'm with my family, and it's like, actually you need like less people.
So the studio you've got now
so now I've got the studio, and it's just like, it's perfect.
Yeah, just lock the doors, exactly, draw the curtains, and just sit in the dark.
I'm not here. And it was really interesting. So with the pilgrimage, with this particular route, even though it's less popular, which is why it's quieter and there's not as many people, but I still see people almost every day walking the route, and I still kind of made friends, and I still ended up in a group of pilgrims that we kept seeing each other over and over.
And you got to have meals with them and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'd have meals together, and it's just like during the day when we're actually walking, we wouldn't really see many people. I think there was only... If
I was just kind of a person passing through and I wasn't on the pilgrimage, do you think I'd recognise these people, or do you think, as someone who's walking...
Absolutely,
So
everyone's got the gear, everyone's got the big backpack, everyone's got...
there's a trail of them.
Everyone's walking in the same direction.
10 minutes behind, okay.
They're all like really brightly coloured, active wear.
So it's not that solitary then?
No. There are... So it depends on the day, and it depends on the time of year you go, because there are some, like during the summer it's more popular, or during spring and autumn it's more popular. During the summer it kind of goes dead because it's so hot in the south. Yeah. It goes up to like 45 degrees, and it's too dangerous to walk. I mean, people still do it, but
they pass out.
You'd have to be there's several people die every year because they go out when it's at bad times.
My friend did a part of it again off season. Yeah. And he went through Italy, and the first time he did it, he said it was amazing. The camaraderie amongst all the other travellers was fantastic, and you'd look out for each other. Yeah. This time round, he saw nobody. Yeah. And he was getting to places where there'd be like a hut set up for travellers. Yeah. But because it was off season, you'd have to go and get the key from the local police station. Right. Yeah. And you'd get there, and they'd be like, "Oh, one of you lot again. You're not even supposed to be here." And he actually found it. The first time it was like amazing and warm experience.
Yeah, a lot more barriers.
Yeah, and it was much more hostile. And not as friendly.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. It was similar for me this time.
Okay.
Not because it was off season. Actually, the season had just started, so everyone was still kind of getting into things, opening up and doing that. But because it's not as popular, they don't expect as many people. So having to go find the key, that was quite quite a regular experience.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of these like the pilgrim hostels are run by like the local councils.
Okay.
So they're run by volunteers, and often enough, you just turn up. There wouldn't be anyone there. The doors would just be, you have to like unlocked, and you'd walk in, and you wouldn't be able to lock the doors or anything
So
because
you're
you're
a
waiting
little
for other
bit nervous,
people.
okay.
So you're kind of there like, should I leave my stuff? Or
Do you sort of sleep with one arm through your backpack and one leg through your camera bag?
I put all my any essentials I put in a small bag and just put it in my sleeping bag. I think most people do.
So you're out on your own for long periods of time, and you were saying it's a transformational experience. And I know like there's this whole idea of kind of being solitary. I can't remember who it was. Some very wise philosopher once said, all of mankind's problems stem from not being able to sit quietly in a room on your own.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
And so I'm big into meditation at the moment, and I'm training to become a meditation teacher.
Yeah. Okay.
And one of the things about meditation is, we've constantly got this stuff going on in our heads. And with meditation, you kind of tune it out. So it's still there, but you tune it out. And when you get rid of that, when you get it away from that chatter, sometimes in some circumstances, you find things are kind of presented to you from within, if you like, that are a little bit unexpected, or can be reassuring, or, I know some people, they get things that they don't like reappear. Other people find great confidence because suddenly their insecurities are put out of the way. When you're on the road for that long and you do have hour after hour, perhaps you don't see someone for a day or something like that, do you find yourself, what's going on in your head? Are you just going around in circles with the chatter?
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to say because it was a lot of the time I was so kind of inside myself, especially because this particular route it's long and flat.
Is that through Spain?
Yeah, so it was an old Roman road, so it's all very just direct, and you know where to go. You don't have to like concentrate on where you're going. And a lot of the time, because it was when I wasn't photographing, there were often times where I was just hours walking in a straight line and just thinking about stuff.
Yeah, just sort of staring ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so a lot of the time it did become a sort of meditation because you end up just focusing on putting one foot in front of the other and like trying not to rush and like see how tired you are and do I need to rest and.
So it's almost like a rhythmical walking.
It becomes it becomes a rhythm, and it was really interesting because every so often I'd sort of suddenly like zone in again and be like, oh, it's been like a couple of hours and I've like walked so far, like, what have I been doing?
There is a road that goes across Spain. I used to live with an Italian guy, and he used to ride his motorbike back to Italy. Yeah. And he said there was this one road in Spain that just goes on and on for hundreds of kilometres. Yeah. And it's a straight line, and you get people crashing because they just zone out.
Exactly.
And then the road eventually comes to an end, or there's a car in front. Yeah. And they're somewhere. They're awake, but they're somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you completely zone out, and you just kind of go inside your own mind. And
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience.
And from a photographer's perspective, who kind of sees things slightly differently anyway, that must kind of create, some interesting things in your head, certain kind of.
Yeah. I think a lot of it it was just before. Well, it was kind of in the middle of me going freelance. A lot of it, I was actually thinking a lot about photography and what I wanted to do with my work.
So this is a big life step you have to take.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time thinking about what I needed to do next and what I wanted to do with my work and where I wanted it to go, while I was doing the walk and trying to make a project at the same time.
So do you think if you were to like, in 10 or 20 years' time, if you were to look back at kind of life stages, that would be kind of like a...
So
this point ended here, and it was the start of something else.
Yeah, it's quite clear, like where all my kind of life steps are. So the first one would be like at university, and then the second one would be the first time I did the Camino. Okay. Because that was so I was saying that was just after I left my first full-time job after graduating. So I'd kind of decided to do that as a kind of mental refresh, or mental and physical refresh.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I hadn't been doing photography that entire time I was working. I'd kind of like dropped away from it, even though I told myself I wouldn't. So that was kind of a way to get back into like flex my photography wings again, basically.
So did you, when you said a mental refresh, was it you intentionally thought I need to kind of get myself kind of
just like outside and in nature and I just after working it was almost 2 years I was working in an office just commuting every day.
Is this at 1854?
No, this was at the Prince Base.
Okay, I remember.
This, yeah, so I was.
You had an exhibition there.
Yeah,
didn't you?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I had my China exhibition there.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
I want to talk to you about that in a minute as well. So.
Oh god, yeah, that was so long ago now. But yeah, so it was like my first full-time job. It was really exciting, and I managed. It was quite a good position. So I was an intern for 3 months, and then they hired me full-time as a marketing executive.
It's pretty cool.
Really, yeah. So this is great. But I also got to like, it wasn't just a title. I actually got to do. Had been given quite big responsibilities from the very start.
So what were you doing?
So it was so yeah, I was working in the marketing office for the Prince Base, and we sort of handled like all the events, so exhibitions, talks, any sort of event associated with the Prince Base. We'd be the ones handling it and promoting it, promoting the Prince Base itself, like their services, and trying to like start up partnerships with kind of other brands and companies who might be interested, basically, in
Fantastic.
a gist.
And so you reaching out to people all the time saying, look, we've got this amazing resource.
Yeah.
How about you come and take
Yeah,
advantage?
exactly. Yeah, we were trying to, what's the word? Yeah, we were basically trying to do brand partnerships with like big artists, like getting them to try and use our services, and but also putting on mixed like exhibitions with things like people like World Photography Organization and who else was there? I can't remember now. That's so long ago.
Because I mean, the Prince Base do. If you're a photographer and you're entering some of the big competitions like Taylor Westing and stuff like that, they will deal with your entry and get stuff printed up for you.
Yeah,
like a package, so you don't even need to worry about it.
Yeah, and at the time they just started this print sales platform, so that was quite a big thing we were working on as well. But yeah, I just come straight from university, straight into this, and I had done none of this. I'd never done any kind of thing on this level before. And in I think it was in the last month of my internship, they had an exhibition. They were putting on an exhibition with an illustrator, and they needed someone to handle it. And I just said, "I'll do it."
Cool.
I was like, that sounds really exciting. It sounds really big, and it was really, really stressful.
But you handled it.
But I handled it, yeah. And
is this your general kind of attitude to life? Just like, that sounds cool, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like the Camino, 1,000 miles, 1,000 kilometers of walking, I'll do it. You know, and then only later you're just like, oh my God, I've been walking for 10 hours and, you know, haven't found anywhere to put my tent up yet or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, what have I done? So then,
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, it was, I was actually writing about this, because I was doing an Instagram takeover, and I was writing about this the other day, about
who's
how,
that for?
So that was for women in photo.
Okay, cool. Is that with Metro Imaging, or is that something else?
No. Oh, no, it's something else, yeah.
It's
it's a completely different platform, but also supporting women in photography.
Fantastic.
But yeah, it's just at women in photo on Instagram.
Cool.
But I forgot what we were talking about.
So massive opportunities. Very daunting.
Because before, kind of when I was growing up, when I was younger, I used to be really shy. I never used to talk to anyone. I would never I started taking pictures when I was 14, and I used to take pictures at kind of local. Sounds funny now, but local rock music concerts.
Yeah, cool.
And there'd be always the kind of local bands coming.
I think there are kind of rites of passage that you do as a photographer. So you start off, you get your camera, you start off in the garden, and you photograph with flowers and things like that.
Yeah, the dewdrops.
Exactly, and then you
macro
but then you work your way up to live gigs, and you kind of do all your live music photography and stuff like that. Yeah. And then you kind of start to specialise. Then you get into your landscapes or your portraiture or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I was really lucky to have this. It was just down the road from my house. Me and my friends used to go every other Friday, and then one day I just bought my camera, started taking pictures, and I just started then taking it every week. And then I became the unofficial photographer for the place, and I got in the newspaper as well.
Cool, that's not bad.
Like 15, it was great. But I was loving it, but I was so kind of just not prepared to deal with people in general and opportunities that sometimes I'd get an opportunity and I'd just let it pass me by because I was so nervous about talking to people. Yeah, there was this one time someone put me in touch with a journalist. It was a local journalist, and I can't remember what it was for. But I was supposed to call him, and I just got so scared that I just didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I hate talking on the phone. I don't know
do
why.
as well. But as part of my job here, I have to talk on the phone quite a lot.
Yeah,
I can't
so when I got to my first job, a lot, like some of it was talking on the phone, doing a sales pitch, and I was just like, oh my god,
psych yourself
yeah.
up.
So I had to I just wrote out the pitch in paper, and I just went into into the corridor to do it by myself, and I had to psych myself up to do it as well.
Because it's amazing, because I've always seen you as someone who just you are very good at finding opportunities and making opportunities for yourself. You do Of the Land and Us. Is that still something you're active in?
Yeah. So it's been difficult trying to keep it up, but it's still there in the background.
And you're going out and it's a kind of online magazine, and it's open to other people as well.
Yeah.
But it's about the relationship with people and the land they live on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is a really interesting concept, I think, for
that started off as a university project, and it was just portraiture when it started.
So you're going out and you're meeting people. So as a very shy person who doesn't like to meet people, you're going out and you're challenging yourself.
Exactly, because I spent so long kind of just being really shy and nervous, and basically having no little confidence in dealing with it with other people, and all these opportunities, like the few that came by. But once I got to university and it got to second year, I kind of realised that I had to start getting over it, because otherwise I'd kind of miss out on life.
Yeah, I mean, because
everything that came my way.
There are people who would shy away from something that made them confront them or confront their kind of fear. But you've gone the other way and said, right, now I'm going to have to deal with it, or at least kind of, even if it won't go away, try and face it somehow.
Absolutely.
And as a result, you're finding opportunities and
exactly,
creating your own path.
I'm trying to, so since second year, basically, I've basically been saying to myself, even if it's scary, just do it.
So that requires a certain amount of self-awareness, though, doesn't it? Which I don't think a lot of people have. Where does that come from, do you think?
It's a good question. I think I've always been quite self-aware, even when I was really young, and kind of I knew that what I was not doing was bad, kind of missing out on these opportunities. I knew I should be kind of just getting over it and doing it, but
that's really interesting, because I think that in itself is a superpower, kind of just being aware of what your kind of, I don't want to say failings, because
they're
all part of us. So it's not a failing as such, but it's an idiosyncrasy perhaps that other people might go, I'm just shy and I can't deal with it.
Yeah.
So leave me alone. Whereas as someone like you has said, I'm shy and I need to challenge that and go out there. And see,
it took a few years, but yeah.
But I mean, it's opening doors, isn't it?
And it has taken time. But I think university was a big part of that, because I got to move away. I got to be independent, and I was always, it's kind of I always think about it, it's kind of a dichotomy, because I was quite independent as a child, and I liked being by myself, and I was quite confident in that way.
Yeah.
But then it got to, it's strange having to then try and get in touch with other people I'd never met, and people who were kind of business people. What was really scary to me.
Sometimes I have a kind of alternate persona that I call upon, and I call him Confident Chris, and I kind of imagine this kind of perfect version of myself. He's tall and he's got good hair, and he's good at giving presentations, and he's never fazed by anything. And whenever I'm in a situation where I'm kind of like, oh, I really don't want to make this phone call, or I don't want to speak to this person, or I just can't get out of bed today. I kind of think to myself, right, what would Confident Chris do? And then I try and just pretend to be that person.
Exactly. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. But if you do it long enough, you realise actually I'm not faking it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm capable. And it's still scary.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So that's what I've been basically doing the last few years. Just kind of.
So your way of kind of summoning this alter
doing that, and
is
just
to go for a walk for 1,000 miles on your own through.
Once you walk through a whole country, on your own feet, you can just deal with anything after that.
Well, that's it. I mean, and because you've travelled. I made a list of some of the places on your your fear
quite a
most
lot.
list. Yeah, I just
Quite a lot
ran
this
out of
last
paper
year.
almost. But so there's Croatia, Manila, Latvia, Croatia again.
Yeah.
I've got
That
an
was.
exhibition in Croatia at the
Have
moment.
you?
Yeah, funnily enough.
Oh,
It's sort of travelling
Croatia's
thing.
amazing.
It's in Grozny, I think it is.
I don't know
No, I
where
don't
that is.
know. You've been to California, Iceland, Copenhagen, Japan. That's a
Yeah.
lot of different places.
There's more than that.
Oh yeah, I know. I just ran out of
Yeah, that's a
time
few.
to note
Yeah,
them
yeah,
down.
no. So I spent the kind of last 12 months traveling. So after I left my last job, I basically just said I want to go traveling.
So your last job
was
was at 1854
Yeah.
Media, which is the British. Is it the British Journal of
Yeah,
Photography?
it's the sort of creative agency arm of the British Journal of Photography.
Okay. Cool.
So I was there for almost another 2, well, pretty much 2 years actually. I think it's a bit over. That was in September last year, and then I decided that I wanted to go travelling because I hadn't really been travelling before, apart from my final year project when I went to China. But I was still kind of work, and then between leaving my first job and between getting the job at BJP, that was supposed to be my travel year. That's when I started. Okay. I did the first.
So this
Camino.
is something you've been planning for a long time.
So something about So it was a very delayed gap year.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so I ended up in Latvia first. That was really cool. That was a month's residency.
Oh right. Okay.
So it wasn't a paid residency, but it was basically they'd already had the application for the paid residency, and they had the apartment for the entire year. So they were basically giving the apartment for free for a month. Cool. Yeah. So I thought, because I'd saved up quite a lot of money by that point, and I was like, this is a really good opportunity for me to just go somewhere and just make some new work. And it was really good. It was an amazing place. I love Latvia. I fell in love with it. Just staying there, it was so. I
would never think of Latvia as somewhere to go. I mean,
I've never been.
Croatia and Prague is very popular as well, but Latvia's not.
No, I mean I've never been around that whole kind of region ever, and I'd always wanted to. And so I was like, so I took the opportunity, went there, and it was just such an amazing place. And there were so many things that kind of we melded well together. It was like me in this country. And it was because I don't really I've realised now I don't really like cities, but I was staying in the capital city, and actually it's one of my favourite places.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I think because it's got so much recent history. Because that was only 20 years ago they kind of gained their own independence again. So there's still all this change happening, and it's really obvious, and you can see it everywhere, and it's really interesting. And the project I did kind of wasn't related to that at all, but it was really interesting because I had to speak to a lot of kind of different people about for the project.
Okay.
And it was for example. One of the let me backtrack a bit. Tell you a bit about the project.
Okay, cool.
So it was it's basically about women and wilderness.
Okay.
So I haven't released the project yet. I'm still working on it.
Because on your website you've got 3 untitled projects.
Yeah. Okay. So they're all previews of things I've been working on for in this kind of last year of travelling.
So all of these places you've been to, it's not just you're not just travelling. There are projects that works here.
Yeah. Okay. And pretty much So there was one in Thailand. Yeah. One in Latvia, and the second Camino to Santiago.
Yeah. And then that's Japan and Copenhagen.
And those were
holidays.
Yeah. Still shot a lot of pictures. Yeah.
Fantastic. So women in the wilderness.
Yeah, women in the wilderness, and that only kind of came about because I had to pitch something for the residency. Yeah. And I was trying to think about, what would I want to do? And I was thinking about the Camino and how could I kind of expand on that? And I was thinking, I was thinking on the lines of solitude, and I was thinking about being women alone walking, and the wilderness, and these are kind of keywords that kept coming up over and over again. So I did some research and found out that Latvia's kind of the percentage of wilderness and kind of man-made area it's still majority wilderness.
They have bears and they have wolves. And
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have lions.
but like the land itself is just.
And there's virgin forest, isn't there,
Yeah.
as well, which is
Yeah,
ancient
and
forest.
it's that kind of that whole region is kind of referred to as the lungs of Europe.
Fantastic, amazing, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, it's really interesting. So I'm going to basically look at that, and I'm going to look at specifically at women and their kind of relationship to the wilderness.
Okay, so and this is very much like Of the Land and Us as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So I was speaking to, so when I got there, what I basically did was I tried to find as many different women as possible of all ages who had an interest in the outdoors, if as small or as big as possible, even if they were kind of people who spent their time outdoors all the time, or if they just kind of had they just like to go for a walk every now and then. I was quite interested in kind of the relationship between the women and the outdoors, basically.
Yeah.
Some of those things were the first weekend I went mushrooming.
Oh yeah,
for the first time.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
You didn't take any hallucinogenics or anything?
No.
Okay, cool.
All
edible.
What are they called? All edible. Yeah, we made a risotto afterwards.
Fantastic. Okay.
But that was so cool, and it was just, and that was like another thing about Latvia, is that everyone I met was so friendly and open, and they would just invite me into their house, even if I just met them on Instagram. But this first weekend was actually with one of the residency organisers. I was telling her about I wanted to try and organise to go mushrooming with someone that weekend, and she said, "Oh, actually, I'm going to my family house this weekend." Not family house, holiday house. And her parents were going to be there, and she was going to be there with her husband and kid, and they were going to go mushrooming.
Fantastic.
And then she just invited me along, and it was great.
Amazing, yeah.
And then that was where it was interesting about the recent history coming to play, because I met her parents in the car on the way, I met her mum first in the car, and her mum had an Australian accent.
Okay, that's interesting, yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then I met her dad, and her dad had a Yorkshire accent.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so...
That's kind of unexpected, isn't it?
It was really unexpected, and I got there and I was like, what's
happening?
Going on?
Yeah.
But basically, because when they were growing up, they'd had to leave Latvia because of the conflict.
Yeah.
And her mum had gone to Australia, and her dad had gone to Yorkshire.
Wow.
And she'd grown up in Australia as well, and they'd recently come back,
Okay.
and the house that they'd come back to, their family house that we went to for the weekend, they were doing it up because they recently got it back, because it had been used as it was used as a like a school boarding house for Russian children.
Okay. That's amazing.
So it was all so interesting to see how, like, just I'd never experienced any of that kind of thing in England, because our history is
and you're kind of falling into these stories.
Yeah.
And there are multiple stories there. You've got the story of the house.
Yeah.
You've got the story of the country.
Loads
You've got
of
the
different
story
stories,
of this one family who've been separated and then come back together. And then you've got this underlying thing that's, your motivation for it, which is the women in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And so wherever you go, you're finding stories all the time.
Yeah. And it's all just kind of forming layers upon each other. Yeah, like, oh my God, there's so much here. And that's like part of the reason why I haven't finished that yet, because it was a year ago now. I've been trying to like work on it, get it finished, but there's just so much that I need to like still work on, and I want to get. So what I'm doing next is interviewing everyone that I photographed.
Yeah.
And also some women that I didn't photograph, because there's just so many stories that I've been told that I kind of want to get down on paper, and it needs to go with the pictures.
Did you meet anyone who lives out in the wilderness and is just...
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of wild woman of the woods kind
of it was totally unexpected. So this was, I said about meeting people on Instagram earlier. Yeah. So this was, I messaged a girl on Instagram, and I can't remember why specifically. I think I was basically going through Instagram and trying to find any women who were interested in the outdoors. And I found her, and I messaged her, and she messaged back. And we were going to meet in the city to just take a few portraits. And then she messaged me saying, I'm actually going to my mum's for the weekend, out in the country. Do you want to come?
Okay, cool.
I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah. So I got the bus with her, met her at the bus stop for the first time.
Cool, yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you're not like a
not a
old man with a moustache or something about
yeah,
to
and you were
kidnap me.
kind
And I
of
was like, oh yeah, same to you.
yeah, you were equally as reassured by that.
Yeah,
That's
and then we got the bus. So it was about 3-4 hours away up north. And then her mum picked us up in the car, and we drove through this really dark road, very quiet, like no towns or anything. Went into and then got to their house, and her mum basically lives alone in the forest.
Wow.
With in this house that, if I remember correctly, I think she built it herself.
Really, with her own bare hands.
Yeah, and they have pets, so they have 2 dogs. They have a really small, fat, chunky dog who's really cute, and they have loads of cats, and it was just so idyllic.
Like a fairy tale.
Yeah, straight out of fairy tale. I just didn't expect it at all. And then the story was that she was telling me basically her mum had had problems in the past with alcoholic husbands, and kind of she'd had enough, and then just moved away into the forest and like built this house for her kids.
Wow.
And yeah, and then that was another story in itself, because we were talking on the bus back, and she was telling me how that actually it was quite a big problem in Latvia, that a lot of kind of fathers and husbands had picked up alcohol as a way to kind of cope
after the conflict.
Yeah. And yeah, so
and
it was
then the women get the brunt of that.
Yeah.
As a result.
Yeah, the women and the children, and and it was just interesting hearing all of that, and it's still kind of, I feel like I've been working on this project that's about women in wilderness, but there's so much other stuff that I need to now consider.
I remember hearing a story, and I can't remember which photographer it was, but it was someone like the National Geographic back in the 1950s or something, or the 70s. They commissioned a photographer to do a long-term project. And it was to go to somewhere like Seattle or Chicago and just document the city. And it was supposed to be for a year. And the guy just got obsessed, because the more he explored, the more he found. And
I can understand that.
and him and his kind of assistant, they kept on saying, we just need another 6 months, and then another 6 months. And then apparently these guys ended up going a little bit crazy. And there were rumours that they were staying up all night just to go out and photograph stuff.
Yeah.
And then they were coming back and drinking the chemicals from the dark room.
Yeah.
Just so they could stay awake and like go out, and they were just going delirious and all this kind of stuff. So, so there's a little element of that. So you've got all these stories.
No, I can understand that, because
you're not drinking the chemicals from the dark room.
I'm not drinking the chemicals, but
it's like, I guess it's like the more you dig in, the more you find that it's unravels.
No, I can see how that it can easily happen, because once you you grab this like string and you just can't stop pulling it, and then there's no end to it. But at some point you have to stop.
Yeah, because I mean, it could just dominate your life, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and it was. It was going that way, and I took some initial prints to a portfolio review at the Photographers Gallery. They do like a free one every month, last Friday on a month, which is pretty cool. And that was really useful, because I was really thinking about like, I need to, especially because of the kind of the topics that came up when I was doing this project are sensitive and like are important and really like a lot bigger than what I was thinking in the first place, and I kind of felt like I have to go back and like keep photographing, and like
I have a responsibility now to tell this story.
And then at the review, one of the reviewers said, actually, like it's totally fine to just do a snapshot of this life, and like you don't think that you have to go back.
This is not your cause.
Anymore. Basically that it's fine to just do this little kind of
open a window on it, and then let other people explore.
Exactly. It's not. You don't have to go all out all the time and spend years and years and years on a project, which I kind of feel like sometimes that I do need to do that, because
I know when I started in photography, I realised I had a bit of a knack for it, and I felt like I'm actually all right at this. So therefore I have a responsibility to do it. And suddenly it was almost like it owned me a little bit.
Exactly.
And it was my master in a way.
Exactly.
And I was just doing commercial portraits and like, nicely lit stuff, but you're doing actual, real people and real stories.
That's the thing, you do have a responsibility for the lives that you photographed.
Yeah.
And
that's
sometimes
quite a weird thing, isn't it?
Sometimes it feels like you're doing them a disservice if you don't go back and like carry on the story. But at the same time, like, you don't want to get too obsessive and start drinking the chemicals.
Yeah, because it's like, who's in charge of this thing?
Yeah.
Now? Is it me, or is it?
Yeah.
Is it the camera? Is it the story? Is it?
It's like chasing perfection. It's never.
Yeah.
There's not going to be an end unless you put an end to it.
Yeah,
yourself.
absolutely, and take back ownership of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. So so your adventures. Another one, your kind of big one is the kung fu school in China.
Yeah, so that was the trigger one.
This is the trigger one, but also like I was reading your description on your website, and this is a book now as well, isn't it? Brown Owl Press. You can get copies of this.
Yeah.
But I was reading your description, and you were saying this as well is quite a transformative thing for you, because it was like the combination of the old world and the new world. Yeah,
so, it was.
So
that
what was
really
the project?
Interesting trip.
So
that was to introduce it a little bit. That was my final year project at university. So I studied photography at university, and it got to final year, and I started to kind of really think about what I really wanted to photograph and why, and what I wanted to do with my photography afterwards. That was actually not my first idea. So I started looking more at personal things relating to myself, because at university, when you think that you have to do something serious, you start looking at yourself. What can I do? That's like really serious, like looking at your own identity. Oh no!
See, I never
confronting
had that
yourself
as a young person. Maybe that's your self-awareness.
Maybe.
It's quite
because I started the term looking at my vitiligo. My skin condition. I was like, that's kind of like a serious thing. Like I should start with that maybe. And then after doing a term of that, it just didn't. I kind of didn't really connect with it at all. And then I had to. I think we had to pitch 5 projects to our tutors, and I ended up going with an idea to kind of explore my heritage. So I've got quite a mixed heritage. My dad's Mauritian, my mum's Spanish, but we've got kind of family all over the bloody place.
Okay. Cool.
And I was thinking about, so from then I was already thinking about that I didn't want to stay in the UK. I kind of wanted to go outside of the UK.
Had you travelled much before that?
I hadn't travelled as such, but I'd been to Spain and Mauritius plenty of times with family, to visit family.
So you were quite comfortable getting on a plane?
Yes, but I hadn't been anywhere on my own, and I hadn't travelled like on holiday with friends or anything by that point. So I was thinking about this, and I was kind of making plans, and then that kind of all fell through, and I couldn't do that anymore. And at that point, it was getting quite late in the year, and I was starting to panic a bit. And then I had this idea that I was actually going to do after university, a sort of a postgraduate trip thing. And I was thinking to myself, what if I do this for my project? And then I kind of decided quite spontaneously to go to China.
And did you know you were going to go to the school?
Yeah, so I specifically was looking at this school for Kung Fu. And I can't remember how I found it. I think I was just kind of Googling one day, as you do. And I found that you could go to China and study Kung Fu. And I was like,
so, I mean,
sounds really fun.
Any history in martial arts or nothing?
No, I was obsessed with the films.
Okay, so you wanted to go to because I mean, it looks like one of those remote monasteries, that you see in the film with the Shaolin monks.
Yeah, it was. Oh, I know, it was quite similar. So it was. So no, I'd done martial arts before, but I hadn't done Kung Fu. Okay. And Shaolin Kung Fu is actually quite a niche thing, I found.
Oh right, okay.
Because if you find classes in the UK called Kung Fu, it's normally a different type. Okay. Because you see like Shaolin Kung Fu is more of the stuff you see in the films.
Yeah.
So it's more
almost like acrobatic dance.
Yeah.
And that
kind of thing. It's not very good for self-defense.
But it looks amazing.
But it looks great.
Yeah. Okay.
And
because the Shaolin monks, they tour the world and they put on these amazing shows and they balance
so they have the performing groups.
Like that.
But actually, like you see them do this stuff, and it's like bloody hell, you don't need self-defense. You could like break a person's head with your fist, like with your not even your fist, like the side of your hand.
Wow, God.
But yeah, so I found this school.
So you weren't just photographing there; you were training as well.
Yeah. So
okay.
I made the decision to go actually train there and try and do a project at the same time.
Okay.
Because I mean, I sort of knew that if I went there for a month and didn't train, I'd regret it massively.
Yeah.
But also, it would create a huge barrier between me and trying to photograph these students. If I was just sitting around not doing anything.
Yeah, just watching them.
Yeah, just watching them,
yeah.
and it just sounded a bit. It'd probably be a bit boring, to be honest.
So you were there. I mean, you'd never done. Well, you'd done some martial arts before.
I did kickboxing.
Okay.
So it wasn't.
So were you fit? Were you physically fit and
yeah,
flexible and all that?
No,
kind of high kicks.
but you didn't have to be. So I was looking because
Okay.
I was looking at the website. I was like, you don't have to be like you have to have like a certain. You have to be able to run a little bit, but you don't have to like you'd pick it up.
So
as
it was
you go.
kind of for the tourists,
kind of-
then, really. It's like easygoing Shaolin.
It wasn't
kung
easy
fu.
going, but
Oh, really?
yeah, you got there and they were like, no, you have to run.
Okay. So you get up.
But at the
in the
same
morning.
time, yeah, it
You
was
run
like they
around
wouldn't like kick you out for it, but
Okay.
they would push you to do as much as you can and a bit more, basically.
Okay.
So it
Sounds
was a
pretty
school
brutal.
for foreigners,
Yeah.
and it wasn't going to be like a traditional school for Chinese students, because I mean a lot of the Chinese schools they wouldn't accept foreigners.
Yeah.
And that was quite interesting in itself. So I flew out to China for 1 month and I lived at the school.
Mm-hmm.
Having never been to China before, couldn't speak Chinese.
Okay. So again, you're
Hadn't
like,
been anywhere.
let's see what happens.
Yeah,
Let's go
so
for it, see
yeah,
what
that
happens.
was I just felt like I should go for it at that time, and I was like, I kind of had the confidence by then to just kind of think that I just didn't think about it too much actually.
Yeah, cool.
I was like, yeah, just go in with like no expectations and just plan as much as possible, and not worry about what could happen.
Cool. And luckily, it worked out all right.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like,
I mean, was it grueling? Was it a grueling month?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really grueling. So it was training Monday to Friday, all day. So
Right.
You'd wake up in the morning around 6 to do Tai Chi. Breakfast was just after that, and then you'd have morning classes, break for lunch, afternoon classes.
And when you say classes, it's not just sat at a desk. It's
No.
You're-
So yeah,
it's like
so
boot camp.
okay, let's try to remember. So you'd have different classes every day, but it was mostly so you'd practice doing forms. So in Kung Fu,
Okay.
they have forms that you do. So it's kind of a set of moves that come one after another, and they're like the basic forms that you learn that you repeat day after day after
Okay.
day, and like year after year.
Yeah.
And
Still,
that
you
it
can't
kind
get it
of
wrong.
that's the basis of all Kung Fu, those
Okay.
forms.
Yeah.
And then so you do that a lot, and you just repeat and grind, and you'd go for a run every time you had a break. You'd go for a run.
Okay.
And then you do things like jumps and rolls.
So
that was a different class.
Were you not just after like 2 weeks of this? Were you not just thinking, "What am I doing here? Why am
No,
I
I
here?"
loved it.
Yeah?
It was really fun. Yeah, and because you were kind of in the same boat as, so you'd be put in a class with the beginners, and you'd kind
Yeah.
of all be in the same boat, and you'd have started at the same time. And like some people would be better than others,
Yeah.
but there'd always be kind of, it was like a little community. And the school was kind of, it wasn't in the city, it was far out, so
Yeah.
it was just you, it was like just you guys, and it was kind of like being at university again. It was like a
Yeah.
little halls of residence.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then you'd all be going to classes together, you'd all be running together, eating together.
And was that transformative as well? I mean, was it?
Yeah, it
kind
was.
of- you found a little bit of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was. So I think about it as it was like the trigger for everything that I do now, and like all
Yeah.
these kind of adventures that I go on, and all these trips that I do, and the way I photograph. It was all kind of, it stems from that trip, because that was kind of what can I call it? It was, I think just transformative.
So it's kind
is
of like
the way to say
I've
it.
trained
It
with
was,
the Shaolin monks.
Yeah.
Now I can do absolutely anything.
Yeah, no, it was just a whole different experience. It was a whole different culture. It was just like managing to find a community,
Yeah.
even in this completely random place in the middle of nowhere. the physical side of it. I was so like physically exhausted all the time, but it was kind of refreshing at the same time.
So again, like another reset.
Yeah, another reset, a different kind of meditation.
But it's funny, you've gone like throughout your university career, you've gone from someone who likes to be on her own and not speak to anyone, from having to make phone calls and then having to go to China and on your own and join all these other people, basically beating themselves up like all day, every day for 4 weeks. God. And then I'm going to move on to Tim Andrews now, which is a very different kind of experience.
Oh, it's completely different,
So Tim Andrews is a guy, is it Parkinson's that he's got? And he is basically modelled for hundreds of photographers.
Hundreds. I think it must be about 500 by now.
Yeah, and I mean, he's like, next to Princess Diana, he's one of the most photographed people. But he's famous for it. And it's
I've never had it put like that before, but it must be true.
He's just...
it's...
All the top photographers have photographed him, and he's he's open to it, isn't he? He likes to do it. And he's kind of documenting his... the kind of trauma and the degenerative process of Parkinson's through his adventures with photographers.
Yeah.
But this is very different to going on a 1,000-mile walk on your own and going to China. So why? This is a real juxtaposition. What attracted you to that? Because you've worked with him quite a bit, haven't you?
It's so very different. So we've worked together 3 times now.
Okay.
Almost every year since we first met, basically. But so I met him first at university. So he came to do a talk about his project, which at the time, I think he's like officially closed it now, but he's still working with photographers.
It's interesting because it's normally the photographer who has the project, but actually it's his project.
Yeah, that's why I found it so interesting that he's not really. It's difficult to say because he's not really a model. He's kind of the subject of his own project. Yeah, it's him.
He's a middle-aged man with Parkinson's disease. Yeah, he's about 55, something like that now.
About 55, 56.
And he's kind of. He's the one kind of, he's in the middle of it, but he's kind of commanding the photographers around him. Inviting them to photograph.
Yeah, so he's got this massive network of photographers. Yeah. And they've all photographed him in their own way. So he's invited them to photograph him, but he's sort of, I think he puts in ideas every so often, but I think that's like one interesting part of it is that everything is so different. All the pictures of him are so different from each other. And that was actually coming back to what I was saying before about wanting to be ambitious. The first time we worked together, I remember sitting there for days just like looking through all the photographs being like, some of these are really good, like how can I make mine better? And then I had this really big idea and I tested it out on myself and it just looked so bad. I was like, this is awful. And it took us 2 years to finally set a date to shoot. And that was, again, after I quit my first job and just before I went on Camino. So it was kind of in that really transformative time for me where I just left this quite big job and I was about to go on this big walk. So
do you think you do your best work at like these moments in your life where
it's becoming a theme?
Everything changes,
So I'm not sure what's gonna happen now that I'm freelance.
It's gonna be rubbish, and then you'll decide to
get
stop being freelance, and then you'll do this amazing project, and you'll discover yourself.
It comes in like these in between moments.
Absolutely, that's interesting, isn't it?
So
it's
really
did
interesting.
This thing. Was it in the church? You did this.
We set a date, and we met in a church which Tim had shot in before, so it was his idea. And it was.
And they were quite happy to do like new photos in it.
Well, it was specifically in the crypt, so it was. I think no one was in there that day anyway, but we took over the crypt basically. And I'd never been in a church crypt before, and I was like, this is really spooky. It sounds great.
It's downstairs. Right?
Downstairs, and it was really kind of. It felt like being in a cave because the floor was all kind of. It wasn't like flat, and it was very earthy. And it was very kind of. Like a musky smell, and I was like, this is really, really interesting.
Earthy smell.
And I was really nervous because I hadn't done. It was sort of my first ever pure portrait shoot. At that time, I thought I was still kind of interested in doing fashion shoots.
Oh right, okay.
Because that's what I'd been doing at university to kind of work with other creatives. I've been doing like fashion work.
Yeah.
And it was my first time. He wanted to shoot nude, like all the people he works with, he mostly shoots nude.
Yeah.
and that was my first time doing that as well. And it was my first time shooting an older man.
Yeah.
And a man in general, I think.
So you were quite
so it was
nervous,
all these like first. I was quite nervous. I was like, oh God, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
How am I going to make this really good? And then after the shoot, it just went so well, and I enjoyed myself so much. And the location was amazing. So it was this crypt, but there was also a chapel inside it.
Yeah, right.
It was just like covered in all these kind of gold, churchy things, and like all these sculptures,
fantastic.
and like this massive. The altar, I think, and it was all worked out so well.
Yeah. And
I had such a good time. And he's so easygoing and down to earth, and he'll just, if you have an idea, he'll just go for it.
Fantastic.
And yeah, so that was, after that shoot, I kind of realised, actually, I don't want to do fashion stuff. I like photographing people. People is like the thing that attracted me to doing that kind of thing. And yeah, so that was like a turning point in that shoot, because that sort of made me realise this is what I want to do more of.
And that's led you into the forests of Latvia, and it's led you to...
Yeah, and it was sort of the way I worked in that shoot, kind of using natural light because there weren't any lights available.
Yeah.
That's kind of become quite a big thing now, that I use natural light whenever possible. And
do you get frustrated at this time of year when the days are getting shorter?
Not really, because the days get shorter, but the light that comes out in the winter is amazing.
Yeah, you get this kind of autumnal.
Yeah, it's autumnal.
Light,
it's really kind of low, very kind of soft and diffused, and it looks like you can look at it and be like, that's winter light. It's like it looks cold. But yeah, and it's been quite sunny these kind of last few days as well. Every so often I wake up and like, sunshine.
So where are you based? Where are you based in London?
I'm in Croydon, so I'm still living at home.
Okay.
Yeah, still living at home.
So you're actually quite close to the countryside then, so you can get out and enjoy. Yeah. Because where I am in the country, it's stunning when the sun's going down. Yeah. And everything's got this kind of golden sideways light, and the trees they're on fire anyway because they've gone reddy brown with the autumn colours.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, our trees haven't changed yet, which is annoying. Yeah, I've been looking outside garden. I've got myself a little home office now, and I'm just looking into the trees. Like,
come on. You'll have a window of like 3 days where it's like
exactly. Yeah. They start to suddenly change. Like today, I'm like,
just hope
I can see you. I'm watching.
Just get out there.
I know.
But we recently joined the National Trust. And they've got places all over the country where you can go. And it's just stunning. The gardens are just amazing at this time of year.
I really want to move into the country.
Oh, that's great.
That's like, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot recently is like...
But would it be the country in the UK or country somewhere else?
I don't know. I've been thinking about doing a year out somewhere because I feel like, I've always really wanted to live somewhere warmer.
Yeah.
But then when I did this walk, and it was so warm all the time when I wasn't expecting it, I kind of started missing the cold weather.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And also doing the trip to Thailand and Manila in the Philippines, that was over winter last year, and I almost completely missed out on winter. And when I got back, I was like, it's really weird. I don't like it. I actually like the seasons changing.
I get that to a degree, but I am quite comfortable being somewhere where it is oppressively hot. It's so hot that you can't do anything.
I thought I was, but I'm not anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's changed.
I think I spent about a year and a half in New York.
Yeah.
And the winters there are just bleak.
Yeah,
they go on forever.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think I could live somewhere that gets any colder than this, which is not.
But it's not just that it's cold; it just goes on forever. Yeah. It just never ends, and then suddenly it's hot. Like unbearably hot.
Yeah, and, that's the thing. I think my favourite seasons are spring and autumn, so I need a spring and an autumn. Yeah. Especially autumn. Autumn's my favourite season.
Autumn is very popular, and I think I was reading something today, some poet, I can't remember which one, but he was saying that, autumn is a time of renewal and reflection, isn't it? And that's why, people love it so much. There's a time sort of quietening, and the trees and the plants are sort of dying down, ready to be kind of reborn in the spring and that kind of thing, and it's very poetic and romantic. And
it's very romantic.
Yeah,
that's probably why I like it. I still have a very
romantic... It's the artist in you, isn't it? It's the photographer, I suppose. But so back to your work, how much do you think, having you've been on the Camino and you were alone with your thoughts for all that time, and you push yourself to the limit in China. How much do you think your work is actually a self-portrait and it's a reflection of you?
I think it's it's all a self-portrait. Actually, it's a really good way of putting it. I never thought about it like that
so you
before.
think it's
but actually, I
like to be alone, and that's what the community is about.
I've been trying to think about a good way to put it, because what I've been saying recently is sort of that my work is based on my own kind of passions and interests.
Yeah.
And that it's sort of what was it? Someone said to me recently, using photography as a way not just to document, but to what was it? Hold on, let me find it, because it was a really good way of putting it. But that is basically it. It is all a self-portrait.
So do you think you're trying to find meaning and purpose through your work, or because you talked before about finding out who you are, and maybe that's what
I don't know if it's about finding a meaning. And purpose. Start to lose the ability to speak. I've been speaking too long.
That's right. We'll wrap it up in a minute.
No, it's fine. I always get like this. But it's. I think it's more about exploring the different aspects of what it could be.
Okay.
In a way,
yeah.
Which is something that the Camino was quite good for a lesson on, because it when you do something like that, it's more about the journey and not the end.
Yeah.
And that's quite a big thing. I think it's more about all these. It's not about the end point. It's not about finding answers for me. It's about kind of exploring the different options and kind of trying out different things, and it's all very a bit selfish, but
but I mean it's I mean that's you've only got your life, you know
exactly,
what I mean, and you have your perspective, and in terms of where we all are, I can't see through your eyes. I can only experience the universe through my eyes. So in that sense, it's all, I'm at the centre of it, if you think about it from that point of view. And we're all just trying to make things up as we go along, And I think it's really fascinating, especially when you're a photographer and you see things in a slightly different way. Just like, if you're a gardener, you see things in a different way to someone who's not a gardener. If you're a photographer, you see things in a different way to someone who's not a photographer. But you kind of you contemplate what's in front of you and the interpretation of that as well. And maybe that's this whole thing about the women in the wilderness, and you're doing this Instagram takeover. What's that called? And I'll put a note.
Women in photo.
Women in photo. And I mean that's a reflection of kind of where you are and what you're doing and that kind of thing. So I was thinking to myself before, because I'm doing this takeover and I'm doing it with 2 other women, and their work is kind of, I see it as a lot more serious than mine. And it's a lot more, I mean, it's all photojournalism, and they're kind of working with really heavy hitting, like serious subjects. And I look at it and I talk about my work and I'm like, it's already kind of, it's just all a bit of fun. But you say that, but I think, like you were saying before, and it was kind of evolving and opening.
That's the thing. It's like opening.
It's a bit of fun, women in the wilderness, but actually, there are women in the
found
wilderness.
All these stories.
And they're there because they've been through trauma. They've been through, and then you're going to this house where it was a Russian school and the children lived there, and there's
not many people have realised about.
Might not be in your face.
About
I mean, it's not doing commercial portraits like I was doing with nice lights and costumes and stuff. This is real people in real situations. And I've often thought, that if just because someone is having a harder time than you in life doesn't mean that your situation is any less serious or unpleasant or whatever. And it's fascinating. There are so many levels upon which things can be explored, especially when you take a theme as broad as women in photography or feminism. Feminism isn't just about the right to vote, it's about so many nuanced things. And as a man with no idea really what it is like to be a woman, that's kind of, I'm talking in the most superficial sense out there. But, it's, and also as you're a woman going out on your own into Shaolin monk Kung Fu schools and stuff like that, and dealing with naked men in crypts and 1,000-mile walks through the Pyrenees and stuff. That's quite.
Yeah.
That's out of your comfort zone, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do
absolutely.
that's inside your comfort zone?
Oh, I procrastinate a lot.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of Netflix.
It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like you're always doing amazing
stuff.
stuff.
No, those kind of adventures that interspersed with kind of few months of
just
being really lazy
dormant.
and dormant.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah, dormant until the next adventure strikes.
So what is the next adventure then?
Well, I'm trying to keep it like not as adventure-y because I spent the last 12 months kind of travelling all over the place. And now my travel fund has gone to zero.
Okay, cool.
So now I managed to save up a decent amount while I was working. So that was about 4 years of saving.
Yeah.
And because I live at home, which I'm really lucky to do, but at the same time, I'm not saving up for a house because there's just no point.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my designated travel fund. So that's kind of depleted now. So I'm going to kind of try and spend the next year just freelancing because it's a really exciting time, and I'm hoping it'll go well and I can raise enough money to go travelling once again.
Fantastic. And do you have any ideas of projects you'd like to do?
Yeah. So I'm trying to get these. I've got 3 projects that I've kind of made from the last year of travelling. So I was saying before that one was from Thailand. I was actually a similar thing to the Kung Fu thing. So I went to Thailand to do Muay Thai.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I tried to go back for a round 2, but it didn't work out as well as I'd hoped. It didn't. I mean, it was never going to be the same.
No.
But it was almost completely different. And it didn't quite work out. But I've still got a little bit of a project there. I'm hoping. So.
And will these become books as well?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't really thought about the end project. The Thailand one definitely won't. I think I'm just going to leave that up as a little online exhibition type thing, and maybe try and get into a few publications.
Okay, that's cool.
And then the Latvia project is the more kind of exciting, bigger project that I'm still working on. That I think actually I've been thinking about doing a zine type thing, especially because I'm going to be doing some interviews and I'll have some text to go with it.
Yeah, fantastic.
I want to try and do something a bit more different than a kind of standard book. Mm-hmm. And then the third one, the big one, is the second Camino work. So that is, I shot that along the whole Camino. Came back with about 5,000 pictures.
Oh my God.
And it's completely not about trekking or the pilgrimage at all. It's something a bit more conceptual, and I'm still trying to figure it out.
Fantastic.
But I'm trying to get basically those 3 projects out of the way first. And because I've been in and out of the country and I've been procrastinating a little bit, I'm still working at it.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it?
So I'm trying not to start anything new before I get those done.
Fantastic.
Otherwise, I'm just going to add more and more work, which I've already done actually, because I did a month taking portraits, which I'm still trying to edit through in July.
Yeah, I remember you saying about that. Oh my God.
So I rented out that studio for a month, just because the woman who rents the studio normally, she was going away, so I had a chance to get in there and just see what it was like. Yeah. And I decided to just invite a bunch of people down for portraits, and I filled up the whole of July.
That's amazing.
Loads of people came down. It was really, really good. I just put a call out on social media, and I had quite a few interesting people come down as well, which is nice. But I'm still working on getting the pictures to people. Like months later.
It just takes a long time, doesn't it? Especially when it's a project of passion, and sometimes you can't just work through it. You have to put it down.
It's all added up, and I shot film as well. And
oh my God!
I've got to scan everything. And, oh my God!
Fantastic.
So that's kind of another project in itself.
Cool.
But so I'm working on getting those all out of the way. But I do have a couple of ideas.
Cool.
But I'm trying. So I'm trying not to go travelling, but I've already got a list of all the places I want to go. That I'm trying not to book.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I'm to kind of balance it out. I'm going to try and keep it to the UK. So I might go around the UK and do some wild camping trips.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
And some walks. So I was looking at doing the Cambrian Way.
Yeah.
Which has just been, well, not just. I think it was not last year. It was quite recently. Maybe in spring. It was officially recognised as a trail.
Fantastic.
An official route.
Yeah.
So that's an idea that I think I might go and do that walk in the UK.
Yeah, document that.
Which is very, very difficult. I think I was reading the guide notes for it the other day, and I think if you do the whole thing and get to the end, you'll have climbed over 46 mountains.
Oh my God. Yeah, so you're going to give it a go.
Yeah, so I'm going to give it a go. I don't think I'll do the whole thing though, because it starts in Cardiff, and I've been to Cardiff loads.
What do they call those? There are guys who do all the peaks they collect the peaks in Scotland.
Oh,
and I forgot what they're called.
Monroe bagging.
That's it, yeah. And they go around and they
I only came
right
across
there.
that term like last year, and I was like, what's that? That sounds really fun. And some of them do it in the traditional kind of mountaineering costumes, like tweed and I
stuff
thought that was
like
really interesting. But I'm not so good at mountains.
No.
I can walk a lot, but if you take me uphill, it will slow me down quite a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. Absolutely.
But yeah, so it's more kind of, that's less project based, and that's just I kind of want to do that for fun and see what happens out of it, and just keep the mini adventures going while I try to save money.
Yeah. Okay, so to wrap it up then, what's your, if anyone does listen to my podcast, I'm still not sure anyone does. I know I do. Yeah. My mum might, if she can figure out how to download
my mum's going to want to listen to it.
But if people want to find out more about your stuff, your work, where can they go?
So my website is www.ameenarojee.com.
Okay.
.co.uk. Not .com.
That's right.
I've never said that out loud before, actually. And I'm on Instagram, Twitter, as @Ameena Rojee.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the big places. Oh, and thank you.
And do you still do your field notes, your Tumblr, or is that?
That's actually that was I only just recently put that up actually.
Okay.
Because that was I've been working on my website trying to rework it, and those are basically, I was trying to figure out what to do with all the pictures I've taken on these travels that don't belong in any projects, or maybe old project bloopers. So it's
kind of like a kind of rolling scrapbook type thing.
Yeah, it's kind of it's basically a curated version of my Instagram feed.
Yeah, fantastic. Cool.
Travel or diary-ish journal.
Cool. Yeah, nice.
Field notes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that.
Cool. Thank you for the conversation. It was
no,
really
thank you.
good.
It's like really interesting. I was like, because some of those adventures are quite epic. So about that. So I won't take up any more of your time, but thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was me chatting with Ameena Rojee, the fantastic photographer. Check out her work. The address to her website is coming up now in a minute. And don't forget, my book is now available too. Sorry for the shameless plug, but I spent a lot of time on this. It's really thick and chunky. It tastes so good, and it can help you get unstuck if you want to read that. All right, take it easy. Speak to you later.